Hello, Tom Sleigh, head of property of Elementa Workspace, because it's the new brand of Landmark in London. You started 25 years ago, Landmark, and now Elementa. A traditional business center. Can we define it like that?
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Or serviced office, probably at that point.
Okay. And we have this discussion today because, as we said, you are rebranding into Elementa Workspace. And the rebranding is not something you do every day, of course. But first of all, can you just tell us a little bit more about you and Elementa Workspace?
Sure. I've been at Elementa now just almost a year. Prior to that, I very sadly always worked in the flexible workspace sector. My 20th year this year, would you believe? So I've been very fortunate. I was at Instant Offices for a long time. I was then at Avanta, who were in London, worked at another operator called Breather, and then most recently was a colleague leading the Flex advisory team there in Europe.
So number-wise, Landmark / Elementa Workspace nowadays is 30 buildings in London, roughly 100,000 square meter for the continental listeners. What made you decide to turn it into Elementa Workspace? And when we discussed just prior to this conversation, I had the impression that Landmark sounded like very much like a traditional property company. And now Elementa Workspace is, okay, staying to the world. No, we are really operator. We are hospitality driven. And this is the pathway we are following more than ever now. Is it right?
I think our clients have definitely become more demanding. And that's partly just human nature over the last decade. People are expecting things to happen much quicker, be much more responsive. But I think more importantly, businesses are evolving way, way faster than ever. And it's impossible for a lot of companies to predict what's happening in a year, let alone 5 years' time. But this sector, the flex sector, isn't just about flexible terms or the location. It's really about how we can help create performance for our customers, how we can create and curate an experience that really adds value to their business. And as a company, to deliver that type of experience, it has to be evidence backed and it has to be measurable. And when we took that moment to step back and think, do we need to rebrand? We've got 24 years of goodwill and IP around the existing Landmark name. Lots of people outside of even the UK know of us. But we felt that everything we already do as a business across all those locations, across all those years, Landmark was not reflective of that. And it really is hundreds of little elements that creates that experience. And that's why we landed Elementa, which I think so far has landed really well.
What would you say as Elementa Workspace or as an operator, the changes happen? Because another element that you were mentioning is that, for instance, the shared areas in your buildings was growing in proportion, that this kind of service, culture, ambience, all those soft elements that are more hard than science at the end of the day, maybe, but we're being more and more part also of the experience you aim to offer, something that we hear from your competitors as well. But what does it tell about this move and this understanding and the focus on those elements tells about the evolution of the market in London and maybe beyond, would you say?
See, we're not a software company, right? So the physical is crucial. Clients are looking for alternative places to work, different areas, different zones, different types of spaces outside of just their office. It's really trying to create this equilibrium and balance. And we've spent a lot of time looking at why have certain buildings maybe had slightly better retention, or all of the feedback loops that we have that we are obsessive about. We've got this incredible backlog of live data, right? And we've made some very conscious decisions across the portfolio on certain physical decisions, let's put it, be that the decibel rating of a wall, be that the fresh air provision in a meeting room like this, be that the size of a focus pod. But frankly, it's all irrelevant if the human layer isn't there. You could stay in the most expensive, beautiful hotel in the world, but if you're welcomed, they forgot your name at reservation, and I don't know, you can never get a sun lounge or whatever it might have been. It destroys all of that hard work that you put into the physical environment. And it's no different in our world, that it's utterly crucial to have beautifully designed, sustainable environments that support our customers' workplace experience. But if the team on the ground can't deliver that service, your attention is going to be nowhere. Clients will leave. That piece of the puzzle is so crucial. And it's not just about having a smiley person at reception, which obviously is vital, but it's really that entire operational playbook processes that enable this seamless experience. But as I say, without the human part of this puzzle, we're nothing. And that's why our teams are really the critical part of our business. And Landmark, as the name, we didn't really reflect that either. I think a fresh start, and just it's really representative of how we think and how we operate.
That's a nice word of conclusion. I think it tells a lot about where we are heading, and Salesforce also experience and evolution of this market. That's great to hear that indeed everything becomes cooler also at the end of the day. So the Elementa Workspace also, I guess, pressure also for newer generation, I guess, that is so important to address. Thank you so much, Tom, for this conversation.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Explaining. Thanks a lot.